me under your wing, crack of thunder, as a wild bird sing. You can hear hunger crying out, a sonic echo that leaves no room for doubt. All the shots bring it back to what it's not. Make a move, do we do? As the world cries tears in our hands, are we all part of a bigger plan? All the shots bring it back to what it's not. Deepest oceans, they can't betray enough. Empty spaces, time to rust and dust. There's no wonder left for us to love. No warmth or shelter, just satellites above. All the shots bring it back to what it's not. Make a move, do we do? As the world cries tears in our hands, are we all part of a bigger plan? All the shots bring it back to what it's not.
Races 7 and 8 within the Renault Racing Club Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. And the championship moves to Cheshire, to Oulton Park and the ever-testing Island Bend circuit, which takes you down from Cascades towards the tight right-hand hairpin. It can be a pinch point, it can be a crucial place to overtake, but come what may, it always delivers drama. The championship, of course, being somewhat dominated by Sebastian Jobe in the pro category. It is Luke Pennington who comes here as the leader in AM. It is Luke McEwen chasing in pro, Josh Thompson third, and Scott Mokes best of the rest in AM ahead of Daniel Martin. And Sebastian Jobe has made a real habit out of not only getting pole position, for which there are bonus points, but also winning race 1. We'll wait and find out exactly what he's going to be able to do here. David Addison and Paul Smith looking forward to what promises yet again, Paul, to be another fascinating pair of races. And of course, with that semi-reverse grid, race 2 is the one that's perhaps more likely to throw up some surprises.
It could well throw up some surprises with how difficult it can be to overtake here at Oulton Park. It's very limited overtaking opportunities out there. I think it really could throw up a shock surprise result or two. And of course, going down into that island hairpin, you just go over that nice crest into the braking zone. Easy to lock up a brake, so we could see some 10-pin bowling. Hopefully not, though.
The other element, I think, that some of the drivers have been commenting on, having been practicing during the week, the dreaded track limits, which I know is a topic quite close to your heart. It's a narrow circuit. These are big cars, virtual or real. Track limits could be a real factor here.
There could well be. There's a automated system in place for you to be judged on track limits. Here it's one of the benefits of running in the simulated world. You don't have to have a judge of fact at every corner. So yes, it's definitely going to be a talking point for quite a few of the drivers here today, but these drivers will be pushing the limits to the very limit.
And in fairness, getting used to a circuit that's not that wide and can bite is pretty good practice for what happens next week when the championship heads to Bathurst. Just a quick reminder that we have the 10-minute qualifying session due to get underway any moment. 10 minutes, that's all there is, and perhaps around here it's going to be more crucial than ever in order to get that good grid position for race 1 that will start at 2:15. Then they've got a 3-minute warm-up before they rejoin the server and grid up for the second race, top 6 reversed. And in Pro, because of the fact that if you've qualified well, it's perhaps a more natural grid, the greater importance is placed on race 1. 12 points for a win as against the 10 for a win that you'll get in the second race. It doesn't matter in AM quite so much, really, because you're not in the top 6 and being affected by that reversal. But for Pro, the greater weight of points is on race 1. It's 2 for pole, and the qualifying session is going to be underway, as I say, any second now. And again, to come back to this point, around here with overtaking tough, qualifying is vital. Sebastian Jobe in Pro heads Luke McEwen. 15 points between them. Josh Thompson is third, and Graham Carroll, who was flattered to deceive a little bit this year, is fourth. 1 point up on a race winner. Peter Berryman, Will Chadwick is sixth, ahead of Luke Bennett, Alexander Davidson, Matt Emery, and then Gareth Higgins. In the AM category, though, it has been all about Luke Pennington, and he comes here with this huge advantage over Scott Mokes. Daniel Martin is third. Crofton Woodhatch, who's been the only other winner this year, he's fourth from Dylan Platt, Adam Holloway, then Oliver Ettridge, Tim Darracott, Daniel Cofield. Story attached to Daniel, we'll come back to in a second, and Nathan Tague rounding out the top 10. This is the schedule for the year. We've been to Silverstone and Donington and Snetterton, Oulton Park today, then into New South Wales and Mount Panorama Bathurst in a week's time. Then a short break before you head to another undulating circuit of Knock Hill, back to Donington, and we finish in May at Brands Hatch. Right, let's get the admin out of the way. Daniel Cofield, first of all, cars on track for qualifying. Daniel has racked up 30 seconds worth of time penalties for assorted indiscretions, and that means that under the regulations, he has to sit out this qualifying session. So straight away, Paul, he comes here on the back foot, doesn't he?
If ever there was a track that you do not want to be starting at the very back of the grid, it's this one here in Cheshire. I mean, it's, you know, you've got to take your medicine sometimes, and that's what is happening to Daniel, but he will be kicking himself over that. If you're going to pick up a penalty somewhere, you want to do it somewhere like maybe Silverstone, but of course with that being at the start of the season, it's going to be difficult to serve a qualifying ban at the start of the season. But yeah, it is, you've touched it right in that beginning piece here. It is the most important qualifying session of the season, I feel, in my opinion, because of the difficulty of overtaking. It's also actually going to be difficult to get a clean lap time in, and sometimes it might actually be better to hang back away from everybody and just do your own thing.
By way of a guide, in the real world, when we were here last summer, it was the Dutch driver Robert de Haan who took pole position. The qualifying lap that he did was a 1:20.418. Let's see how close we get to that. And in the first of the two races, so the Saturday afternoon race, the fastest race lap, James Kellett, who was just under a second shy, 1:21.415. So that's just by way of the guide. But equally, not only is it a track that bites, yes, we've done that, and it's narrow, yes, we've done that, and it's hard to overtake, yes, we've done that. The championship, Paul, has never run in esports terms, at least, on this configuration of Oulton Park, has it?
No, we've always run the international layout where you have that run all the way down through Island Bend into the hairpin at Shell Oil's hairpin. And it is going to be a different challenge for the drivers here. I personally love that full layout of Oulton Park, because that Island Bend is such a test of a driver's ability to just be millimetre perfect every time, because if you run wide, that's it. You're going to be facing a very, very sturdy wall at very quick velocity. But this island circuit, it does give us that hard braking zone into the hairpin. It's a potential of an overtaking opportunity, but in all honesty, every driver, if they have a driver within within half a second of them behind them, they're just going to hug that inside line into that hairpin every time, and it's practically impossible to go the long way around there.
Now, you saw, as we are just about at the halfway point of qualifying, everybody slowing right down, coming underneath the vehicle bridge down towards Lodge Corner. And then, with clear track space ahead, they pull the trigger and accelerate over the line and now go for a lap. Now, it is Scott Mokes who's done the notional best time, a 1:26.699. We know people can go better than that, so keep your eyes peeled. Now, where is Sebastian Job? He's third in the times behind Daniel Sedgley. Clock ticks on down, 4.5 minutes to go. It's going to be a mad scramble across the line, isn't it, to determine the grid?
Yes, and don't forget as well with this series, once that clock strikes 0, you cannot finish your lap like you would in more traditional forms of motorsport. So it is all on the line. You've got to cross that line with about 1:22, I would say, on the clock to be able to finish your lap. But otherwise, it's going to be difficult to do. And Peter Berryman, this is somebody who will want to get the bit between his teeth and try and start challenging Sebastian Job.
Just a quick word about one or two others. Jamie Moon, who missed Donington, missed Snetterton. He is back for this brace of races, so one to watch. He's 11th at the moment. Berryman is heading up towards the line. Let's just get him past the pits and see where he slots in at the end of that lap, because Peter Berryman is an improver and he goes up to third fastest. I was about to mention as well that we've got two newcomers to this year, Adam Cox and James Parker. We're on the sort of waiting list, if you like. They now step up and join the championship, so they're going to be way back in terms of points, but it's good to have them in the title race. Graham Carroll goes quickest.
But look who is in second place, just 1/10 behind Luke Pennington, the AM. He has had an incredible season so far. That is a blindingly quick lap for an AM.
And then you've got Luke McEwen third, ahead of Will Chadwick, Peter Berryman, Matt Emery, Jamie Moon. He might be a bit rusty in a sense, having missed 4 races, but he's 7th, ahead of Jacob Toft going nicely. Dan Martin is 9th, Eric Grove 10th. And while all this is going on, Sebastian Job has been elbowed back to 17th. I'm not suggesting he's going to stay there, but it would be really interesting if he couldn't piece a lap together to have to start mid-grid. Luke Pennington has bailed, I think.
Yeah, and you've still got drivers trying to prepare their tyres, prepare the car for another assault on a hot lap, but time is ticking away here, and if they take too long, they're only going to get one more opportunity to get a lap time in.
Now, where is Josh Thompson, who is the man third in the championship, because he's not really sparkling as yet either. David Williams also hasn't been credited with a lap time, so there's still a little bit of shuffling to do before the end of the session, isn't there, with only 2 minutes and change on the clock. This is Luke McEwen, third at the moment, as he comes up towards the timing line, and he goes through. Does he stay third? I think he does on that lap, so Luke McEwen goes by. Got another shot though, hasn't he? In fact, he might even, yes, he'll only squeeze one more out of this.
Yeah, I think that was a preparation lap. It was a 1:37.2 was that lap. So this is it. This is his opportunity now for Luke. You can see how he was not letting the car drift too far wide on the exit of Cascades, and then into the island hairpin, hook it in, get on the power nice and early, because up over the hilltop here, then you plunge down towards the chicane. This is all about getting your braking right. These tyres, by the way, on the insides of the chicane here, they do not move. So you do not want to go anywhere near those tyres on the insides of the chicane.
And then it's up Clay Hill, over the brow, head towards the water tower. When you see that, you go left, set the car up for Druids, which is this double apex right. First bit, second bit, power out, over that little brow, underneath the Bailey Bridge, and then down towards Lodge Corner, and you turn in, not really being able to see where the road goes, because right now it tumbles down the hill, climb out of Deer Leap, head up towards the timing line. And is this going to be a good lap for Luke McEwen? Well, it's good, but is it good enough to put him on the front row of the grid? Answer is no. Answer is yes. In fact, it's a late time to come up, but he does go quickest, and he's in the 19s. A 1:19 then for Luke McEwen. Goes second fastest ultimately.
Yeah, because Graham Carroll's put it on pole position, but Sebastian Job, 6th place on the grid. He has not had a good qualifying here.
He has not. So Graham Carroll, well, he's in the pits. I wonder whether he had even gone faster. But anyway, he is going to be credited with pole position. Luke McEwen, a 1:19.355 to be second. Then you've got Will Chadwick, Luke Bennett, Pete Berryman. And Sebastian Job ends up 7th because Luke Pennington has gone 6th on a 1:19.547. We've still got time on the clock, but it kind of doesn't matter anymore. Sebastian Job 7th. This is the big story. We've got a real race on our hands for race 1, haven't we?
And the thing is, Sebastian is not guaranteed to get into that top 6 either to get a reverse grid position for race 2. Oh, this could spice things right up for us here, David, in this opening race of the day.
It's wrong in a sense to wish ill to Sebastian Joe, but it's going to make it interesting for the championship. We didn't have Daniel Cofield in that session, nor did we have David Williams, I noticed, but we did get Graham Carroll then for pole position ahead of Luke McEwen. Starting third is Will Chadwick, and Luke Bennett will go from fourth. Peter Berryman fifth, and then sixth, the AM pole sitter, so another 2 points go the way of Luke Pennington. Seventh, Sebastian Joe. I'll say it again. Seventh, Sebastian Jobe. Yes, he's got a lot of work to do, but he's ahead of Matt Emery. Josh Thompson is ninth, and Leo Gariboli will round out the top 10. 11th is the returning Jamie Moon, and 12th is Tom Cope for the Olympus Esports team. 13th on the grid, Gareth Higgins ahead of Scott Moak. So that's your second AM, quite a long way back in class. Jacob Toth faded a bit as the session wore on, but he outpaced Daniel Martin, Eric Grove, and Dan Sedgley, who will line up 18th. 19th is Jack Sedgwick. He in turn is ahead of Dylan Platt. Nathan Tague, 21st. Newcomer to this year's championship at least, Adam Cox, 22nd. Oliver Ettridge is 23rd. And another returning driver, that's James Parker. He is 24th, first time out this year. A long way back, AM race winner this year, Crofton Woodhatch. He's only 25th. Daniel Cofield will be 26th, having had to miss qualifying. And there's a question mark then over David Williams, who didn't go out in that session. Now, we know why Daniel Cofield didn't, because of penalties. He was prevented from going out, but why David Williams wasn't there, not sure. This, though, has all the makings, doesn't it, of being an absolutely fascinating 25-minute race.
Well, if ever there was an opportunity for somebody to step up and challenge Sebastian Jobe, this is it now. This is their big chance to be able to do that. I'm looking forward to this opening race, David. We're about to get started.
We are indeed, and Graham Carroll then is the driver on pole position, looking there as though he's lined up on the outside. So the grid for the esports is in contradiction to how it would normally be in the real world. We go racing, and a good getaway by Graham Carroll then that catapults him into the lead on the run down towards Old Hall Corner for the first time, and he manages to box off everybody else. He's put himself in the pound seats, hasn't he, as they run through Old Hall for the first time. Right through Denton's, and there's mayhem coming out of Old Hall Corner already. Look, because we've got 2 cars off the road. He's one of those, Luke Pennington, maybe.
It is. Luke Pennington involved in the exit of the Old Hall Corner. That was a big moment for him. That gives Scott Moakes a great chance then of getting an AM win here. But into the island hairpin for the first time. Single file up at the front. Further back, though, we've got more drama.
Road blockage, people scarper either side of number 43 of Josh Thompson, and there's another car that comes into view spinning on the grass, Oliver Ettridge. But if you survive this, you're going to score quite well, aren't you? So yet more drama up and down the order, and Josh Thompson, of course, third in pro in the championship, so he's had a really rotten first lap. That's the kind of get out of jail free card Sebastian Jobe needed.
Yes, it is. He needed that, did Sebastian. It's put him in 6th. I think he actually made the move into Old Hall straight away from the start. I think that Luke Pennington got a little bit bullied at the start, and that's why maybe it all checked up and contact was made. I'm sure we'll get a replay from our producer in just a few moments' time. But yes, across the line, Graham Carroll is no stranger to winning races. He knows how to do it up at the front, and he'll be pushing on. But look, McEwen, oh, that's a car 72 sideways.
Cofield.
Yeah, that's at the top of D-League.
So Daniel didn't do qualifying, so he's been thrown straight into the race. Now, in fairness, he may not have done that all on his own. We'll try and find out whether he was pushed or whether he fell. So Graham Carroll, I said earlier on, had flattered to deceive a little bit this year. He's always been, to use that awful phrase, there or thereabouts. Finally, he's there, isn't he? Because he is the race leader. Graham has had a couple of thirds, a couple of fourths, but no higher than third. But right now he leads. Luke McEwen is second, and remember that McEwen is second in the championship as well as in the race, so he wants to try and outscore Jobe as best he can, and to do that he really needs the race win.
Yes, he does. crucial for all those drivers was the fact that Sebastian wasn't able to get those 2 bonus points for pole position. Graham will be delighted getting that in the back pocket there for him. But McEwen, we've seen how much pressure he put on Sebastian Job in a couple of the opening rounds of this championship, and wasn't able to really make a move in those races. Can he force a mistake out of the very experienced Graham Carroll?
Let's keep an eye as they come across the line then. That puts then 2 laps in the book. Josh Thompson is down in 25th and trying to recover. Luke Pennington is down in 24th and trying to recover. David Williams, from last on the grid, is up into 19th place already. So making good progress, as we saw in the second race at Snetterton a few weeks ago. But Graham Carroll then trying to escape, 4 tenths to the second to the good right now over Luke McEwen.
We've seen some battling with the AMs as well. So the leading AMs, Scott Mux, Dylan Platt, Daniel Martin in 12th, 13th, 14th all together. Again, this is a great opportunity for somebody to challenge Luke Pennington, and Scott Mux, don't forget, is the one who is the closest to him in the championship. So it's a tremendous opportunity for Scott to get some good points.
Dylan Platt goes out of Knickerbrook, number 23. You've got the Hislop chicane that comes into it, then Knickerbrook corner. Replay of the start. This will piece together who did what to which and to whom. And I think Luke Pennington got forced out wide onto the curb, and then as the car came across the road, there was just traffic there, which in turn turned him around.
Yeah, just I think it was a case of having the outside line getting forced a little bit wide, and then it all checks up, a little bit of contact, and before you know it, you're facing the wall. But Luke McEwen, he is showing some pace here in the early going. I think he realises that the early stages of this race, he needs to put the pressure on and needs to take any opportunity that's coming forward. What is this? Oh, this is what happened to Josh Thompson at the hairpin.
Yes, he got tagged well and truly, didn't he? And that was sort of coming out of the corner. So he was tagged. That's Luke Pennington nipping by, and then Oliver Ettridge got caught up in the skirmish at the approach to Hilltop. You're right, though, about Luke McEwen. He is showing good pace. Graham Carroll is not escaping, and Will Chadwick is going with him. So McEwen now has got that age-old decision to make. Do I go for the win? Do I go for the extra points? Or do I just bank and make sure I'm ahead of Sebastian Job, who is still in 6th? And that is how Daniel Cofield came to grief in the replay. And you don't often find a car parked at the exit of Deer League, but you do today.
I've stood at the very back of the grid there at the bottom of Deer League, but you do not believe how steep it is up there.
I've run up that, I'll tell you how steep it is, yeah.
This is what happened up over Hilltop as well, and it was the recovering cars, and it was just, again, 3 into 1. We're going to sound like a broken record here. It's a narrow track here, is Oulton Park, and trying to get 3 cars through on the exit of the island hairpin just does not go.
Now, Scott Mokes is going well. He leads out from Dylan Platt and Daniel Martin. So it's a really jumbled top 3. Scott Mokes potentially could be on for a first-class win of the season. Number 7 is Scott Mokes, and there he is. Look, as he turns through Cascades, the Olympus Esports entry, running in 12th place overall. And not under immediate pressure from Dylan Platt either, is he? So this, for the moment, playing into Scott Mokes' hands.
Yeah, and Eric Grove is getting involved here, one of the pros. So if Eric makes a move on Dylan, Scott will be hoping, right, you stay behind me and get a nice pro sandwich in between me and my nearest rival out there. That'll help matters for Scott in that Olympus Esports car.
Graham Carroll's pace is interesting because he clearly was really good in qualifying, put that blinding lap in to be the pole position driver, but he's not getting away from Luke McEwen, is he? So Luke then, who was 2nd on the grid, we saw him go 2nd fastest right at the very end. He's staying on the back of the race leader. It's indeed 3 for the lead now, but Graham Carroll, who had great pace earlier on in the day to get pole position, just can't shake them off, and down they come towards Old Hall Corner. If anything now, Luke McEwen, you get the feeling, is trying to work out where and when he can make that move.
And he's getting held up here as well, and now Will Chadwick is getting held up a little bit in this trio of cars, and if they're not careful, Luke Bennett will drag Peter Berryman, and the worst thing for any of these drivers to hear is Sebastian Job at the back of that field, as looking to the outside. You can't really make that move around the outside of the island hairpin. It just isn't on. but maybe just trying to get a cut back on the corner exit. I don't know, but you can see Luke just calmly there in the Apex Racing Team's facility down in Corby, just going about his business and hitting his marks, but he's looking in his mirror, and he'll be looking at his data, and he'll have in his ear, just don't think about Sebastian, do your own job, try and get a win.
Came into this with the margin between them being, 15 points, and he'll narrow that if he can stay ahead of Sebastian Job, who ironically is going to end up seemingly on pole position for race 2 if things stay as they are, because he's 6th, which is the magic number for the race 2 pole. You're looking up the road at Graham Carroll, the race leader. You're on board with Luke McEwen. They come across the line, and the margin is hovering around the 1/5 of a second bracket. But McEwen, certainly you're right, is being held up. He's got the pace, but where does he try and force the issue? What he needs, really, is for Graham Carroll to make a mistake and open the door for him.
And that's going to be easier said than done, it must be said, with Graham Carroll. As I say, he's a very experienced driver. Graham's holding the middle of the road here into the Island hairpin, and look at it, just a little bit of Morse code being sent there to say, I'm here, you know, I want to get by, please. But Graham, he's doing exactly the right thing. He's not defending fresh air at every corner. He just knows where the threats are, puts the car in the middle of the road and makes it the widest Porsche out there on track, and it's practically impossible to make a move past him when he does that.
510 horsepower, remember, in these 992 style 911 GT3 Cup cars, 4-litre engines, no ABS, no traction control in them, and you're looking back from Graham Carroll at Luke McEwen, who is right there. McEwen, of course, in this invidious position of trying to attack and defend. Chadwick is up behind him, small gap back to Luke Bennett, 4th, Peter Berryman 5th, Sebastian Job 6th, and then the top 10 rounded out by Matt Emery, Tom Cope, Jamie Moon, welcome back, going nicely in 9th place, and then the top 10 completed by Gareth Higgins as McEwen now turns through Old Hall Corner. Jamie Moon, just to recap, got a 9th and an 8th at Silverstone, and we've not seen him since, so he's straight away back to the kind of pace he was at when we did see him in the opening events at Silverstone.
Yeah, it's good if you can just be able to just pick up and go from where you left off last time, and again you get a really good look at the decal. I'll tell you what, the sponsors will be delighted with that shot for getting plenty of screen time there, but I think they'd rather see their driver making the move past Graham Carroll. But again, Graham, he's a smart, intelligent man, he's experienced at racing, Walter Hayes Trophy winner, of course. That's not easy to win, so he knows how to win races.
And he also knows that he only has to win by 1,000th of a second as long as he wins. So he doesn't have to be light years ahead of Luke McEwen. He just has to be ahead. Into Druids they come then. 14.5 minutes. They were not far off half distance in this first 25-minute race as they come now down towards Lodge Corner. Stand on the brakes, go right, road drops away. Further back, battles are raging on as well. Gareth Higgins is in 10th spot. He might go better than that in a moment, or does he? Because as they dive into Lodge, he's under attack. Jacob Tofts is in that battle pack, and Tofts goes through up on the inside line. The Duckham's delivery car, same colour scheme his father carries in the Real World Sprint Challenge. Jacob Tofts goes through. He's on the inside line, and that should just about secure 10th place at Old Hall. Gareth Higgins, though, has got other ideas. He's all over the curve and sideways. And they're still side by side down towards Cascades. It's like a rolling start, this. Who's going to blink? And finally, on the inside line, Gareth Higgins does go back through, reclaims his 10th spot. Great racing.
I think Jacob Tofts might be a little bit aggrieved with how Gareth has held on to that position, and I think Jonathan Palmer will be sending the grass repair bill. Oh, and that's contact. Scott Merckx, that's your AM leader, has spun around. It was a very wide line from Jacob Tofts, and Scott Merckx to the inside gets unceremoniously dumped off the track.
And as you say, he was the leader, but that is now Dylan Platt who takes over the AM lead ahead of Adam Cox. So Adam's first race of the year could net second in the category, going really well. But yeah, poor old Scott Merckx, wrong place, wrong time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's that age-old thing of the car on the outside. If they have gone off track, it's up to them to rejoin safely. I don't know if he was off track though. I think he was still on the asphalt. So it's a case of Scott Merckx letting that car run out wide. just 2 into 1 not going. But look who is up into 17th behind Adam Cox. Look, Pennington, you just can't keep him away, can you?
No, he's going very, very nicely. In contrast, David Williams, who was in the teens earlier on, he's fallen back into 22nd place. So clearly all is not well there. Remember, he was at the back of the grid having missed the 10-minute qualifying window. Right, getting a replay there. And Jacob Toft goes wide, comes across the road, and bang, and Scott Mokes, totally innocent in all of that.
Yeah. As I say, unceremoniously dumped, I think is the term that we use in that. But my goodness, I think Scott will be having a few choice words behind his wheel there.
I think we've said before this year that one of the fascinating documents post-race is always the stewards' decisions, the race control decisions on various protests, and no doubt that is going to be a talking point. But Dylan Platt, then, is your AM leader. He is in 13th in the class, but Luke Pennington, as everybody else kind of self-destructs around him, is up to 2nd in AM, and he's not done yet either, with still 11.5 minutes to go.
You think he was facing the wrong way at Old Hall at the start of the race? He could be on for a win. I mean, it's going to be a tough task to be able to catch up. What's that? 3.5 seconds to Dylan Platt. 11 minutes though to go. I wouldn't count him out of that.
Well, no. I mean, you've just seen with Scott Mokes that through no fault of your own, you can get absolutely drilled by somebody else. And if Dylan is in the wrong place at the wrong time and other people are squabbling around him, look, he's got Jack Sedgwick up behind him. Now, he would ideally like to hang on because he's got a couple of cars buffer between himself and Pennington. But is it worth it? The answer is no. Leave the door open, let him go, because then you're not in risk of any contact, are you? So Dylan Platt does the right thing, loses a place overall, keeps his AM lead, keeps out of trouble.
Yeah, he does keep out of trouble, but it does lose him a bit of time doing that as well, though. You've got to weigh up the cost-benefit analysis there in real time. And at this point, yeah, I'd be comfortable doing that. But with Daniel Sedgley coming up behind, he might want to think twice about opening the door.
Now, last time around, Luke McEwen in 2nd place, fractionally quicker again than Graham Carroll, but Graham, using his real-world knowledge of Oulton Park, positioning the car exactly where it needs to be, and William Chadwick in 3rd, getting a bit frustrated here because he just can't seemingly make the progress. He's had a 3rd place at Silverstone, he's had a 2nd place at Silverstone as Will Chadwick, but he's still stuck right now behind McEwen, who is either running out of ideas as to how to usurp Graham Carroll, or he's quite content to back the point because he's not darting around in the mirrors. He's not seemingly trying to force an error out of Graham Carroll. He's just sat there, seemingly set fair for the points for 2nd place and content to do so.
Yeah, it's we're entering that final third of the race, and we've not touched on it at all. The conditions out there are rather warm on track for the drivers. I mean, we're talking 38 degrees Celsius. I can't remember the last time I saw Oulton Park with a 38 degrees Celsius track temperature, but
it's like that every day up here. Trust me, as a local resident, it is always searingly hot around here. No, you're right, it is pretty rare, and so how much of an effect that's going to have on a virtual tyre, we'll wait and see. But right now, I would offer you that Graham Carroll has edged away by a couple of lengths, look, as they come over the line. So is that him upping his pace? His last lap was a 1:20.275. We'll wait to see what the next lap time through that they've just done is. But certainly now, McEwen has dropped away slightly. Yeah, he lost a 10th on that lap, and Chadwick gained 2 tenths on him.
Yeah, I think Will's now putting the pressure on, and he's pulled the trigger here to say, right, I need to start making some moves forward here. The problem for Luke McEwen here is that he's in the championship fight. He's in a good position to gain points over Sebastian here in this opening race. It's then how many does he lose to Sebastian if Sebastian does in fact win the second race, being that Sebastian's in that reverse grid position right now. So yeah, it's that swings and roundabouts moment of you need to get all the points that you can get, but at the same point Sebastian's looking good for a potential race too, but that's easier said than done.
Now there's also in the inset box there the back of the 4th in Am, which is James Parker, Scott Mokes, Crofton Woodhatch. They're all arguing over that. Adam Cox is the last driver on the Am podium, but there are plenty of people behind that would quite like to gain a place or two before the end of the race here. Leaders go by, 7.5 minutes on the clock, and Graham Carroll on that lap going, again, better than Luke McEwen, but I think they're coming back at him, aren't they? Coming out of Old Hall to the eye, McEwen is a little bit nearer than he was a lap ago.
Yeah, McEwen, the times are just updated. He was ever so slightly quicker, as still we've got that fight for fourth in Am as well, which is intriguing to see. But yeah, this is a queue of 5 cars all scrambling over those positions, and right now Scotty Merckx, he's going to feel a little bit frustrated after leading for quite a good portion of the race.
If I were less cynical in life, I would be worried about track limits now, because more and more drivers, as the race wears on, seem to be going wider and wider, partly at Old Hall, partly at Cascades, and one of them I was just getting a bit concerned about was Luke McEwen. Yes, he's pressing on, but is he pressing on too much? Because certainly coming out of Cascades last time, he looked to be a bit wider than he ought. So, of course, the platform that we run on here with iRacing has that facility to enforce track limits itself and apply penalties. There's nothing coming up as yet, but one hopes we're not going to get to that point. Leaders go by, 6 minutes and counting now.
And you will see it with drivers. They'll be conservative to start the race, and towards the end of the race, they've banked those sort of off tracks, kind of like you see in real world racing. You bank those off tracks, and then last few laps of the race, hammer it. You don't care, because you're not going to get that penalty by that point.
So down towards Island Bend comes Graham Carroll. The lifeline for him, in a sense, is Will Chadwick. The harder Chadwick pushes, the more it distracts McEwen, the more that, in turn, takes off the pressure from Graham Carroll. Down towards his lots they come. You go right, you go left, then you hit Knickerbrook, and you go right and make the climb up Clay Hill. 5.5 minutes as the clock ticks on down, with Dylan Platt still looking for a maiden win in Am, and he's ahead right now.
Yes, he is, and that gap's not really closing up, is it? It's about 2 seconds between him and Luke Pennington, with a car between them as well. So Dylan Platt's looking. I'm not going to say it, because commentator's curse will come out if I do. But he's currently leading the Am and doing a good job about it as well. He's been just quietly doing his business, not doing anything rash. That's all you need to do around here.
That said, Pennington is lapping quicker than not only Dylan Platt, but also Daniel Sedgley, who is the pro betwixt the two. So in terms of pure pace, Pennington might be able to do something. You can see the damage on the side of the car, and he's certainly hustling on. He might run out of time with only 4.5 minutes on the clock, but he's certainly not given up, has he? And actually, second in Am, after the strife he had on the first lap, would be quite a save, as Chadwick lines up, or thought about lining up maybe, for a go at McEwen. All of a sudden, looks like we've got game on for second place, doesn't it?
And William Chadwick has had a little bit of a working relationship, a little bit of a gentleman's agreement with the Team Redline drivers. He has had that little bit of a working relationship with them, so Luke Bennett will be encouraging him to make a move on Luke McEwen in front of him. So Will, he's a privateer, he's not got a team, but he has had a little bit of a working relationship there. He could be a little bit of a thorn in the side of Luke McEwen.
One driver missing this round, Alexander Davidson, which is a shame, because he'd had good pace in previous races, but sadly not with us for this 7th and 8th race within the championship. As Graham Carroll then, 3.5 minutes on the clock. We've got 2 more laps. Maybe there's time for a third. Goes over the line, but that gap has really shot up now, hasn't it, as they go through? We're up, all of a sudden up to 0.6 of a second, and that's McEwen having to defend from Chadwick. That's been the real trigger for that.
Yeah, it's you can see him, his eyes are looking more and more into the mirrors than looking ahead, and he's concerned. He's got enough of a concern that it's distracting him, and that's allowing Graham to pull away. And Graham Carroll, he will have been just backing him up, and right, now I can go.
And this win, if it turns out to be thus for Graham Carroll, has been in the post, hasn't it, since the season kicked off? Somebody that's come from real-world racing into esports, and it's a different art, it's a different feel of the car, but Graham clearly is adapting and has adapted very well. Up Clay Hill. So McEwen, you're riding with, look back. That's Will Chadwick behind, and he's dropped a length or so. So McEwen is under less danger, although Chadwick suddenly starts to get a little bit larger in the mirrors as he breaks late for Druids.
Yeah, Chadwick's just showing his nose. He's getting his headlights into the mirrors, isn't he? He's trying to be a nuisance for Luke, but again, we've seen how Luke, he hasn't bowed to pressure throughout this season. You know, he is somebody who will fight his position, but these drivers, yeah, they're dropping away from Graham Carroll. As the arbiter of track limits, I'm not happy with what they're doing at Old Hall, but there you go. But
I'm relieved.
But they have... I mean, if they've got the points in the bank, then yeah, why not? Chadwick trying to go the long way. Oh, a little bit of a touch between them.
Indeed, and that's going to fire him out wide. So look, he comes off the corner 3-4 lengths back. There was only a couple of tenths between those two when they were heading into the corner. Then it closed right up, and it ends up with them being 7 tenths of a second apart. So Chadwick was the big loser in all of that. It was worth a try because he was running out of options. He will get one more lap out of the race, though. They make the run now up Clay Hill. But not only has Graham Carroll scarpered, but it does now look as though McEwen is a little bit safer in second place, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think Luke can breathe a sigh of relief, but it's going to be too far back now to make any move for the lead now. So I think he needs to settle for second place. It's that race for fourth place. Luke Bennett, Pete Berryman, they've been pretty close together throughout the latter part of this race, and I think Sebastian Job is just hanging off at the back of them, waiting to see if any fireworks happen.
Yes, I was about to come as we head on to the final lap to Sebastian Job, because it's always nice to try new experiences. So here's another one, and I shall say it. Sebastian Job has been disappointing in this race. We haven't said that all season, but you know, he didn't qualify brilliantly, but he hasn't really carved his way through the field, has he? He's struggled to make progress. That makes one wonder whether there's just something in the setup of Sebastian's car that is against him, because we know how quick he is. He's not sort of sitting on the back of the traffic either, if anything. Or is he now making a move? Is he having a go at Peter Berryman? He is. He has closed up a little bit, but you know, he's been stuck there in that queue race long.
When you're talking, I mean, when you think his qualifying wasn't that good, he qualified 7th. These guys qualified faster than him. They just seem to have adapted to the setup. Remember, every car has got the same setup. The only difference between them is the brake bias. You know, it's however you run that brake bias. So if it's not suiting your driving, this setup, and the conditions aren't helping, then you know, you're going to have a mediocre day.
Having said that, we might find out later on that Sebastian Job sacrificed this race just to hang on to 6th and pole, and he's going to bank the points in race 2. We'll ask him about that, no doubt, later. It's a first win of the year for Graham Carroll, who comes across the line to win at Oulton Park in the Rafa Racing Club Porsche Esports Carrera Cup, Great Britain. Luke McEwen comes home in second place, William Chadwick third, and Dylan Platt is not only going to be 14th overall, he is going to be a first-time winner in AM. Great result as Dylan Platt comes across the line. No errors and a first-class win. Brilliant stuff.
Sensational. Great stuff to get your first win, not only for Graham at the front, but for Dylan Platt to get that AM win. When you think that Luke Pennington's had so much pace in that AM championship, it took his advantage and took his opportunities. That's what you need to do.
So a 19-lap race. Graham Carroll was the race winner ahead of Luke McEwen and Will Chadwick. Luke Bennett 4th, and it was Peter Berryman 5th, who also did the fastest lap of the race. Sebastian Job 6th ahead of Matt Emery, Tom Cope 8th, 9th Jamie Moon, and 10th was Gareth Higgins. In 11th place, Jacob Tofts, who had a fairly busy race. He was ahead of Eric Grove and Jack Sedgwick. 14th is where you find the winning AM. Dylan Platt ahead of Dan Sedgley. Luke Pennington 16th, second in AM. Could have been a whole lot worse, couldn't it? James Parker makes a welcome return to the championship, and he is 17th stroke third in AM. Scott Mokes, who led early on, turfed off the road, recovered for 4th in class. Crofton Woodhatch struggled a bit, but Adam Cox was behind him. Daniel Martin 21st. David Williams faded down to 22nd. We know about Oliver Ettridge being off the road early on, and Daniel Cofield. Nathan Tague was a retirement. So also Josh Thompson. Now remember, he was involved in dramas early on. He did get going, but then retired. And so that, again, is bad news for the man that came into this being third in pro in the championship. Yeah, interesting first race, that, Paul, and quite a lot to kind of dissect, really. Where do you want to start? With Graham Carroll, I guess. Finally, he's done it. He's had that win.
Yeah, and he deserved it as well.
Yeah.
He did a sterling job, put it on pole position. It's not easy to pull these cars away from the front as well, so did a sterling job there, and did exactly what he needed to do. Just position his car in the right place at the right time, and didn't defend fresh air.
Well, Graham Carroll has broken that run of pole positions for Sebastian Jobe. He's also broken the race one win list of Sebastian Jobe. Normally it's race 2 where we have the new winner, but it's happened in race 1 here. Let's talk about AM. You've got a feel for Scott Mopes, but great recovery by Luke Pennington. Great result for Dylan Platt. Where do you want to start?
I mean, Luke Pennington showed his class in the AM by being able to be fired off at Old Hall, able to come back, and to get second place in class is absolutely sensational. Yeah. Scott Merckx, your heart goes a little bit out to him, leading, had cars between him, and then just contact, around he goes. But you've got to be in the right place at the right time. Dylan Platt was that person. Went quietly about his business. It's a good race when the commentators don't really mention your name that much.
A word about Sebastian Jobe. Now, do we think that he was genuinely struggling to make progress in that race? Or are we thinking early on he thought, I'm 6th, let's just stay here. I'm going to lose, potentially, the difference of the 2 points for winning race 1 against race 2. But if I finish 6th, I'll be on pole. Race 2 should be mine. What do you reckon? Is it more an indication of him being sensible and thinking ahead rather than struggling for pace in race 1?
Yeah, I think there is an element of that. All the drivers here know just how difficult it is to overtake around this track. We've seen that in that first race. And he will have weighed the percentages. He will have maybe had a little bit of a go to start with, but after that, it's a case of, right, I'm in a comfortable 6th place. Matt Emery was behind, wasn't really challenging. Bank the points, get myself pole position for race 2, and know that I can defend then for the second race.
What about Luke McEwen? He needed points in that first race. He got them, second place, and he outscored Sebastian Jobe quite nicely. But do you think he was banking points, or was he genuinely, again, struggling to find a way past Graham Carroll?
I think he was trying to make some moves and trying to get to the lead, but I just think that Graham had his number here today, and it was sensible to actually then, at the end of the day, think, right, get the points.
Well, this, for race 2, is how they're going to line up. Sebastian Jobe on pole, on the outside of the road, as we now learn in iRacing, and Peter Berryman alongside. Luke Bennett is going to be 3rd, and William Chadwick 4th. 5th on the grid, Luke McEwen, one to watch then to see what he can do in relation to Jobe. And Graham Carroll, the race 1 winner, this time starting 6th. Matt Emery, 7th, ahead of Tom Cope. Then Jamie Moon and Gareth Higgins to round out the top 10. Jacob Toft's 11th. Eric Grove will start from 12th. Jack Sedgwick comes next, and then the AM pole for Dylan Platt. Daniel Sedgley next, then Luke Pennington. So second AM driver on the grid. Let's see what progress can be made from there. James Parker and Scott Mopes next on that grid. Then you get to Crofton Woodhatch and Adam Cox. Daniel Martin is going to be 21st. David Williams 22nd, ahead of Oliver Ettridge and Daniel Cofield. But of course, by this stage on the grid, you're getting to people with dramas in race 1, like Nathan Tague, like Josh Thompson, who came here 3rd in pro in the championship. He's had a torrid day thus far. Leo Gariboli likewise. So they are 2 drivers to watch, starting as they are then from the back of the grid. Well, there is Luke McEwen slotting into place. The rest of the grid forming up around him as the drivers now reconnect. Remember that race 2 wins this year have gone the way of Peter Berryman, Luke McEwen and Josh Thompson. So it's going to be perhaps yet another new name. We've got Graham Carroll now to add to the list, although he's a race 1 winner. But Sebastian Jobe really does have to start as the favourite now, doesn't he?
You would have to think so, but he's not had the out-and-out pace, so you never know with this one. But the drivers, they'll be looking to the starters gantry now, ready for the start.
25 minutes around Oulton Park. We are ready to go racing. It is blast off. And a good getaway by Sebastian Jobe from pole position. Good start by Luke McEwen as well as he tries to move across and cover off the traffic, but it's going to be Jobe that leads down towards Old Hall. Peter Berryman slots in behind him, and Sebastian Jobe now, the anticipation would be, should control the pace. But the others behind know they've got to try and do something at Island Bend before he gets into that rhythm and starts to edge away. So is it Berryman on his tail as they head down towards Island Bend? I think it is. Is he near enough to make a move? I fear the answer is no.
No, he's not. Graham Carroll was forced a bit wide through Cascades by Luke McEwen, trying to hold on to that place from Graham. Fortunately for Graham, he does have a teammate there with him, so didn't have to worry about getting attacked too hard. But still, we're pretty close in that mid-pack down into the Hislop chicane and Knickerbrook.
Indeed so. Right, so Sebastian Jobe it is. Sixth he was in race one. Hence pole position, hence he's in the race lead, heading up through the Clay Hill past Water Tower section towards Druids. Double apex right, scene of many a drama over the years, and then back onto the power, drag the car out over that little rise. The road undulates its way down towards Lodge Corner, heavy braking, turn in, the road then drops away, but it is Sebastian Jobe leading Peter Berryman, winners both this year. Jobe, remember, the championship leader as he makes the climb up towards the end of lap 1. 19 will be the target. That's what we did in the first race. And look, he's getting away already. Half a second clear at the end of lap 1.
Oh, this is ominous, isn't it, already for the field with that type of pace on the opening lap. We've heard from Sebastian say about how important it is on cold tyres to have a good run right at the start and be able to set the pace, and he seems comfortable in that situation. I want to point out Luke Pennington has worked his way through already, as has Scott Merckx on Dylan Platt, so the two championship rivals in AM are first and second in class. Daniel Sedgell and Daniel Cofield have both headed back to pit road.
Indeed. Also, Josh Thompson is up into 17th as well, isn't he? So he's making good progress. But you're right, we have already then lost Dan Sedgley and Daniel Cofield, both having a pretty disappointing day. What about Sebastian Jobe? He's in the pound seats, isn't he now? And he's getting away from Peter Berryman. Half a second clear at the end of lap 1. As Paul said, that was ominous. Well, the gap ain't shrinking. Dust kicked up, dirt kicked up in the background coming out of Druids. But now Sebastian Jobe just reminding people how you do it in Carrera Cup GB Esports. This is the style of a champion. He's won this, remember. He's won the Esports Super Cup. And now at Oulton Park, he's the man in charge.
He is the man in charge. He was 10th and a half quicker on that last lap as well over Pete Berryman. So he seems to have that little bit of an edge in the early going, and I think actually what he's trying to do here is he's just trying to run away at the start, try and get the gap built up so that towards the end of the race, yeah, he might have affected his tyres towards the end of the race, but having that gap comfortable means that you can then control things a little bit.
I think you might be right, and it's looking good for him. So Sebastian Jobe is clear. Luke Pennington, as you say, leading in AM. Scott Merckx up to second. Dylan Platt third. Replaying more dramas, which involved Daniel Cofield in 72. So that's one of the reasons why he's in the pit lane. It's also another reason why the order is shuffled, because that was, how can I phrase this, courageous on the brakes.
Well, I did say that, you know, going into the Island hairpin, it's easy to lock up a brake and go 10-pin bowling, and unfortunately, Daniel Martin was a part of that 7-10 split. Running wide there was one of the red line cars. That was Luke Bennett and Will Chadwick. You don't need to ask him twice to make advantage of that.
Very true. Jobe to the line, still clear. And as the cars come through, Berryman is in second place, Chadwick is third. Then battle's on for fourth, isn't it? Bennett, McEwen, Carroll and Matt Emery next in the queue. So Luke Bennett, by defending, falling away from William Chadwick. There he is, Luke Bennett, number 14. But he's got a whole queue of cars behind him. And Matt Emery also going pretty nicely in this second race of the day.
That all goes on from that mistake that Bennett made, and that allowed Chadwick to go through, and yeah, it's allowed the others to stack up behind him as well. McEwen, I think he'll be looking to just try and move forward. He's in one place better than Sebastian was in that first race. The problem for him is that, for Luke McEwen, is that Sebastian is one place better than Luke McEwen was in that first race. So it kind of defeats the object there of trying to move forward.
It does, even though it's only 10 points for the win for Joe rather than 12, which is what you get for race 1. But as you say, Luke McEwen didn't get those 12. He only got the 10 himself. So let's see what progress he can make. 5th at the moment, but we have still got effectively 4/5 of the race to go as they drop down towards Lodge Corner. So Luke McEwen, number 96, gets back onto the power, hauls the car now up over Dear Lead, getting a replay of more dramas heading down towards his lots.
Oh, no. Oh,
ouch.
Yeah, you're not stopping it when you get onto the grass there. It's not got the same braking capabilities as you would on the asphalt. And unfortunately, you had an innocent party there, T-boned.
Yeah, indeed. There is a four-wheel drive 911, isn't there? But that ain't it. So no traction on the grass down at Hislop's. Takes you back to the old Oulton Park Rallycross track where John Greasley's Porsche was one of the star cars that day, 1984. So Luke McEwen, we've been talking about, who was 4th in last year's Super Cup Championship, coming now down through the Hislop chicane. There he is, number 96. He's got Graham Carroll tucked up behind him. So McEwen, again, he's having to work hard. He's got to try to attack. He's got to try to defend as well. And defending means he can't totally focus on the attack, which is what he needs to be doing.
Yeah, it's a difficult position to be in when you're in the middle of those two cars that you're competing against. It is uncomfortable for you as a driver. You want to be focused entirely on that car in front. You can just see it's just... Well, I mean, the thing is, it's difficult to tell with Luke because he's always very matter of fact and job about it. You know, he's got a job to do. He doesn't get emotional really that often, so he doesn't give anything away to us on camera.
He's closed up under braking for Cascades, hasn't he? Great part of the circuit that. The road plunges downhill, turn left. Don't go too far out wide because that's when the track limit sensors will pick you up, then move across the road to then get the right line for the hairpin. And this is how the cars look as they accelerate out the corner the other side. So Sebastian Job now clear by 1.4 seconds. But the queue of cars really is fighting for 4th, 5th, 6th. And Matt Emery 7th. He's almost still with them.
Yeah, he's thereabouts, and I think Thomas Cope is looking in from a distance as well. He's wanting to get involved in that Olympus Esports car. But yeah, up through Clay Hill, it's all about getting your line right into Druids. Just getting that double apex absolutely spot on. The track, the car wants to always understeer on the exit of Druids, and it's very easy to end up onto the grass there, but definitely it's all about getting the run out of that corner to maybe have a look down into Lodge Corner. But it's not really a long enough run, is it now, David, for these particular cars to make a move into Lodge?
No, the nature of these cars is they gobble up a lot of space very, very quickly. Now, is there about to be a place gobbled up for Luke McEwen because he's all over the back of Luke Bennett coming down towards Cascades. Wide in, might be tight out. Danger is as he's trying, so Graham Carroll might be able to make a move against him. So they come now down towards the Island Bend hairpin. And all of a sudden, Bennett's life has changed, hasn't it? Because rather than purely being able to attack Bennett, he's got to defend from Carroll. Because he was looking to make a move, lost a little bit of time, and now Carroll is all over the back of him. So this shows you, with the headlights ablaze, the perils, if you like, of trying to find a way through. McEwen really needs to try and force a mistake out of Bennett and let him open the door, because I don't think he's going to be able to force it open himself.
And we've seen one mistake out of Bennett already in this race, so it can be done to happen. So that's what Luke needs to do. Graham Carroll's in a very good position right now because he doesn't need to worry about the car behind him. It's his teammate that's behind him. They're not going to try anything silly. So Graham can focus forward and focus on attacking Luke McEwen here. Whereas McEwen's got that unenviable position of being in the middle of two cars, trying to attack but trying to defend. It's one of the most difficult spots to be in right now if you're Luke McEwen.
jam is interesting as well, because Luke Pennington is ahead of Scott Mokes. That bit we knew, but Mokes last time lapped quicker. So he's coming back, isn't he, at Luke Pennington? It might be that Luke's got a bit stuck in traffic, but Scott Mokes certainly would like to leave today with one class win. He's not given up yet. So Graham Carroll on the tail of Luke McEwen comes down towards Island Bend. McEwen in turn is right on the back of Bennett, but he just can't find a way by. Really frustrating, this.
And the problem for Luke is he can't take a wider line in to cut back on the exit of the hairpin, because that will just invite Graham Carroll to just say, "Ooh, that's a nice gap that you've left open for me. Be a shame if I filled it with my car." So it's a difficult spot to be in for Luke. He's trying his best. Graham's just a little bit of mistake out of Nick and Brooks. That's just allowed the front two to just run away a little bit.
And there, look, McEwen thinks about a move, not necessarily on the outside at Druids, but wide in, tight out, looking for the line down towards Lodge Corner. It ain't going to happen for him. So they break, they turn in, 14 minutes to go. Quick word about a couple of others. Josh Thompson from almost last on the grid is up to 14th, and Leo Gariboli from last on the grid, 27th, is up to 16th. So good progress early on, helped in part by other skirmishes. So sometimes you get involved, sometimes if it involves others, it buys you some places, but they're both making progress up the order. Race leaders then currently work lap 9. 19 is what we're aiming for, and you can see now, look, the way that the pack has split up rather. So the leading three have absolutely checked out.
And it's, oh, look at this, it's that defensive job that Luke Bennett's having to do into the hairpin there. It's just holding everyone back. You're right there, David, that the front three have checked out up at the front. Bennett, he's looking in his mirrors. There's no doubt about that as to how he's driving right now. He's not looking forward, and that's just all it's doing is slowing him down and creating this huge queue of cars, because now they've got Thomas Cope, they've got Gareth Higgins joining the back of this queue.
Luke Bennett's not doing anything wrong. He's not driving in a dirty fashion or a overly defensive fashion. He's just positioning the car where it needs to be. But you get the feeling that sooner or later there is going to be this enormous pop, which is the cork out of the bottle, and he is that cork. And once the cork pops, they're all going to come flooding past him, and McEwen is the first driver to try to get that cork out of the bottle, because no doubt about it, Luke Bennett now is causing this traffic jam. And look, McEwen's getting ever more toey in his efforts to get by.
And Bennett's taking that middle line now into Old Hall, so he is really feeling the pressure. We saw him on the last lap taking the middle line down here into Cascades, and he's checking them all up. Graham Carroll's looking busy now in all of this. Business is going to pick up, and if they're not careful, it could end up with maybe one or two tripping over each other.
Yeah, I think you're right, as they come then now up out of Island Bend. So over Hilltop. And of course, Luke Bennett, even though he does want to get past, Luke McEwen, even though he wants to get past Luke Bennett, still has to be mindful of what Graham Carroll is up to. So he, in turn, cannot afford to try anything that doesn't work and, in turn, leave the door even ajar for Graham Carroll. But yes, as you rightly say, this queue of cars is getting longer and longer and longer. You've got Job, Berryman, Chadwick, first, second, third, and fourth. It's kind of everybody else now.
Yeah, and you've got to remember as well, David, that Luke, he's been doing a bit of double duty this weekend, because it was the iRacing Bathurst 12 Hours. He won that with Team Redline, so he's had his focus on Bathurst. He's not had that much time to then spend in here. He'll be feeling fatigued as well at this point, no doubt. So definitely he's doing a good job, but yeah, he is a little bit of the cork in the bottle, as you say.
So just over 11 minutes of the race to go. Sebastian Job leading now by 1.6 seconds. So he's ticking off the laps, ticking off yet more points, and very wide there goes McEwen. So a lot of speed carried into Cascades, and that nearly bit him, didn't it?
Yeah, if he takes it any further wide, and that would have been into the grass properly, and it's not flat, is that grass. It is a little bit bumpy, and you all of a sudden you're facing the wrong way if you're out there in the runoff. Graham Carroll again showing his nose over Hilltop. McEwen is putting all sorts of pressure on Bennett. I'm impressed with Bennett's his ability to be able to reset after that mistake that he made that allowed Chadwick past, to be able to reset and just go, right, forget about that, let's move forward.
Yeah, we've seen this from Luke Bennett before, haven't we? Because he's had a second place outright at Snetterton, and we know that he's been a good defender. I have it in my mind, though, that we've been in this situation as well, where he has been the cork in the bottle, and finally the defence just fizzled away a little bit. He did make that small error, and they came flooding by, but we'll see whether it happens here, because he's doing a good job as Graham Carroll goes right up towards the pit wall coming out of Deer Leap, and in so doing has fallen back a couple of lengths now from Luke McEwen. He's going to be able to claw that back. Look, instantly he's back with him coming through Denton's, and again McEwen is trying to force the issue at Cascades.
This is almost reminiscent of the first time I went to Oulton Park with Alain Menu. It ended up with him punting his way past Paul Radicic that day. Let's hope there's no contact, although there is some there. That's forced the door open, but front to rear contact is generally looked at dimly by the stewards.
And Luke McEwen doesn't go through. Now, was that him self-censoring himself, if you like, thinking, no, I won't force the issue and get a penalty. I'll have another go, because if he hadn't got past, you're right, the officials would have had a look at that and maybe applied a penalty. Well, as it turns out, he didn't gain anything, didn't benefit, so he was able to lag back. In so doing, keep Graham Carroll at bay. So McEwen, currently P5, will fight on up towards Druids now.
Yeah, I do think that was very sensible of Luke to just realise, no, I can't take the position off of a little front to rear contact. I've got to do it fairly. And, well, Bennett's backing them all up here. You saw Luke McEwen just fair rocketed up to the rear of Bennett's car under braking there. So it shows that McEwen's good on the brakes, but Bennett's positioning his car absolutely perfectly.
In replay, can see how wide they both ran coming out of Old Hall Corner. Down towards Cascades again. This time around, no chance for Luke McEwen to go through there. Wide again, coming out of the corner on the other side. Darts around in the mirrors. This is McEwen's view. Down towards Island Bend. Bang.
And that's live. That's again, he's doing that again. And you can see him, the frustration. We don't often see that side of Luke when we're on board with him. So he's getting frustrated here with Luke Bennett. But what's Bennett doing wrong? Absolutely nothing.
He's just not fast enough, is he? That's the problem. But of course, he's also losing pace by taking those slower, more defensive lines. So he's hanging on to fourth place. But Sebastian Jobe, Peter Berryman, William Chadwick, they're very nearly in the next race in the championship. So far up the road are they now? They are absolutely light years ahead.
Yeah, Sebastian Jobe, I mean, 2-second lead over Peter Berryman. That's not really heard of here in this championship. He has really done a job. Oh, now Jamie Moon's just suddenly tumbling down our timing tower here. So something's happened to Jamie out there.
And he is still tumbling, isn't he, as the leaders go by then. 7 minutes and change on the clock, and look, McEwen's having another go. He's really good through Old Hall, and so the move starts here. Goes to the inside at Denton's. That translates to the outside for Cascades. He needs to try to duck up the inside coming out of the corner, but he can't do it.
And time's running out. He realises that he's cleaning his windscreen of any dust and dirt that's accumulating. You wouldn't do that in real life, or else you'd be smearing oil and all sorts all over the windscreen. And again, he's getting frustrated. He can't afford to do this, can Luke? Because he's getting frustrated there, he's more likely to make a mistake.
And exactly what you said a lap ago, Luke Bennett is doing nothing wrong. He's driving his lines. He's hanging on to his place. And he's staying ahead as they come there now out of Knickerbrook. We're on lap 14 of the expected 19. So up the climb past the water tower in towards Druids they come. It always seems to be Island Bend where Luke McEwen thinks about making a move. But 3 laps in the row, there's either been contact and or that frustration. So now the message ought to sink in. He ain't going to do it there. He's going to have to change tactics, isn't he?
What's the old saying? If it's only a fool tries something again and again and expects a different result. Something along those lines. If you're going to do the same thing, you're going to end up with the same result. So try something different. You've got a little bit of a gap now, Luke. Try that wider line. Oh, and a bump into the Cascades corner now. He is getting really frustrated, yeah. He can tell, and he's going to end up regretting it, doing something that he regrets, and you don't want to end up in front of those stewards.
He's going to go deep into the corner if he's not careful, because again, brake late. He's Still frustration. Again, hand off the wheel, shaking of the head. And look, Graham Carroll all of a sudden is thinking, well, hang on, if you're not going to get past Luke Bennett, I'll have a go at getting past you. So Luke McEwen is absolutely stuck, but he needs to be attacking really into Lodge or into Old Hall, because we've proved lap after lap after lap after lap that it ain't going to happen at Island Bend.
Yeah, it's got to change things up, and if he had that little bit of a gap, take the wider line into Island Hairpin to get the run out of it, that tighter exit out of the corner onto the power, and try and get the run up over Hilltop down into Hislops. That's really his only other opportunity here, because, as we said, Lodge Corner, it's not really an overtaking opportunity in these cars, but he's realising that time's running out here. They've only got about 4 laps left.
Absolutely so. Out of Old Hall Corner they come. 4.5 minutes on the clock. Sebastian Job leads. We've said that a lot this year, but it's just worth repeating, because this time around it's in race 2. So he's on target for a 4th win of the year, and it would be the first race 2 victory. Look back from Luke Bennett's car. That's McEwen wide on the outside line into the hairpin, but he can't get up the inside because Luke Bennett, brilliant at defending, hangs onto the place. And Luke McEwen is having a really torrid time. 5th ain't what he needs.
Yeah, Luke Bennett parked that car on the apex, has every entitlement to do it as well. Spot on defensive drive. We are seeing a great defensive display of driving here, showing how to do it here at Oulton Park. And you can see in the second half of the lap, Bennett just able to gap out a little bit over Luke, going towards Druids, which means that Luke McEwen's then got to make it back in the first half of the lap. And you look at their lap times, they're consistently 0.4 of a second slower than your leaders.
Now McEwen comes out of Deer Leap, about a length back. He closes at Old Hall, and that's where the move starts, to be close at Cascade and stay close towards Island Bend. But really, he needs to be thinking about Old Hall to be an overtaking opportunity. Again, look, he's closing up under the braking for Cascades, and I thought for a moment Bennett was drifting ever so slightly wide, but he's recovered it well. Down towards Island. McEwen to the outside, maybe. He's tried it before to no avail. Bang! Into the back of Bennett he goes. But Luke Bennett, again, stops the car into the corner. There's nowhere for McEwen to go, and the gap widens on exit.
Yeah, and you can wave your hands about all you like, Luke, there. I'm afraid that that's not going to help you in this matter. And Graham Carroll now, he must be thinking, oh my goodness. I mean, I was the thorn in Luke McEwen's side in race 1. Now Luke McEwen's been the thorn in my side in race 2, because Graham will be wanting to start moving forward here. We've only got 2 minutes 20 to go.
So right now, the leader is on lap 17. He's about to start lap 18, Sebastian Job. And 19 is what they achieved in race 1. So, out of Lodge Corner they come up towards the timing line. Bennett, McEwen, Carroll, Matt Emery, 7th, dropping back a little bit. The leaders go by onto the penultimate lap of the race now. 2 minutes and counting. And again, Luke Bennett is good through Old Hall Corner. This is where McEwen normally gets the pace. Closes, coming into Denton's through the little kink. But he's not actually this lap as close as he has been. So does that mean he's now decided just to settle and accept his fate? Or is he going to try something on the last lap?
Possible last lap. If he's not cooked his tyres, of course, with doing all this hard braking into the hairpin, he could have cooked his tyres a little bit as well here in these late stages. So he's got to be careful now. I'm sure he'll also be wary of having protests put in against him for the constant contact as well. Fortunately, they don't have to pay for the spares in these cars.
And of course, in the real world as well, if you do hit anything with the front, it tends to have serious consequences, because that's where the radiator is. So you often see sometimes what looks like a fairly innocuous touch ending up with the car out of the race with liquid spurting out of the front of it. Not in the real, not in this virtual race at Oulton Park. Look, again here, McEwen tentatively looks to the inside, but that's really going to be his chance. Under braking for either Lodge or Old Hall. The race leader is on the last lap now. So Sebastian Job goes through. As far as McEwen is concerned, it's now or never, isn't it? He's got 1 lap. Other than that, he's going to have to settle for 5th.
I think he tries to make the move at Ireland. If that doesn't work, he's got to settle for that 5th place. I just can't see him getting past Luke Bennett. And again, he's not had the best exit out of Cascades. He's frustrated with himself. It's not going his way. Luke Bennett, take a bow. It'll be a little tip of the hat from me for the defensive display.
And Luke McEwen's frustration levels through the roof. Now, he has stared at the back of Luke Bennett for what seems like the entirety of the race. Again, he's quick coming out of his lops through Knickerbrook, but the only other option now is to attack going into Lodge. Sebastian Job slides the car a little bit through Druids, but he comes down to the last couple of corners. There's Lodge and Deer Leap to go. It's going to be win number 4 for the championship leader, Sebastian Job, for the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing team, is going to win round 8 of the Rafa Racing Club Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, and win in style, because 2.5 seconds was the margin over Peter Berryman. Will Chadwick 3rd, Luke Bennett 4th, Luke McEwen does take 5th ahead of Graham Carroll, Matt Emery. Oh, drama at the end, because there, coming over the line, is Gareth Higgins with a lot of damage. He made it over the line and then ended up in the barriers. 10th was Jack Sedgwick. Luke Pennington 11th was the AM winner from Scott Mokes and Dylan Platt, but just as he crossed the line, Gareth Higgins' race, well, it all went decidedly Pete Tong, didn't it?
That's one of the most dramatic ways to finish a race. Is facing backwards with bits of your car strewn across the track. But be interested to see what happened there. But yeah, it's been a great display from Sebastian in this second race. He just untouchable in this second race.
Well, William Chadwick's 3rd gave him the fastest lap of the race, but the result, Sebastian Job the winner by just under 2.5 seconds from Peter Berryman. Will Chadwick taking 3rd. 4th, Luke Bennett ahead of Luke McEwen. Graham Carroll, the race 1 winner, 6th, so not making progress, but banking points ahead of Matt Emery, Thomas Cope, Gareth Higgins, who had some virtual damage after the checkered flag, and then Jack Sedgwick in 10th. 11th, the winning AM, yet again, Luke Pennington ahead of Josh Thompson, up from last on the grid to 12th. Scott Mokes 13th, and Leo Garibaldi from David Williams ahead of Dylan Platt and Eric Grove. Oliver Ettridge 18th, Dan Martin 19th, and James Parker in 20th spot. 21st was Nathan Tague ahead of Crofton Woodhatch, and quite a long list here of drivers that we lost. Jamie Moon, Jacob Toft, Adam Cox, Dan Sedgley and Dan Cofield. So with all the dramas early on in the race, perhaps no surprise that a few suffered, but a really impressive drive yet again by Sebastian Job. Yet more points to enhance his standing as the championship leader in Pro.
Absolutely sensational stuff for Sebastian, and I mean, looking down, it's Luke Pennington. What a display he's been showing once again. It's incredible to see what he's able to do in AM, and I mean, we saw how Leo Garibaldi got moved to Pro for this season after winning AM. I think the admins will be looking that way as well if Luke enters next season.
Now, what about Graham Carroll? He's in the waiting room, so we might be able to have a word with him in a moment. He was our race 1 winner. Graham, congratulations. And Paul, he's all yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Race 1 winner, and then had the best seat in the house for seeing what is possibly one of the best defensive displays in race number 2 from Luke Bennett. But Graham, first of all, congratulations on getting the pole position, the first driver to get pole position away from Sebastian this season, and a brilliant first win of the season as well.
Thank you very much, guys. I really don't know what I'm more happy about, the race win or the breaking the Seb Job qualifying record. But listen, it's been a really good day. That second race, I just cruised around, couldn't really do anything. Hats off to Luke, coming from Bathurst yesterday to here with little testing, and still managed to hold us back. But over the moon, really good race. Having sort of McEwen pushing me around. I know he's such a hot shot in Pesk at the minute and stuff, so to out qualify him and your Seb and to get the race win, I'm over the moon.
And it's fair to say the opening week of the championship was one to forget for you, but then you've just had this solid run of results coming into this week. What is it about Oulton Park that seems to have clicked with you this time?
I used to drive Formula Ford 1600 back there in the day, and I just loved the place. Was there a lot of the time, and listen, Silverstone was a first race back on iRacing after quite a terrible year with Mercedes Esports last year at Rennsport. So just getting back into the sim that I kind of love the best, iRacing, and I just wanted to do this championship just to get back and enjoy it and just have some good results after just a really tough year last year. So honestly, it's just a progression, just more and more laps and more iRacing, and it's really paying off. So yeah, it's I know Seb's quite the pilot around here, so I knew a good qualifying lap was needed, and yeah, I've done my fair share this week, so it's paid off. So yeah, looking forward to getting onto Bathurst next week, and hopefully we'll repeat the quali and race result.
Well, all we'll say is all the best. Celebrate today, but you've not got long to rest in your laurels here, because it's a quick turnaround.
Yep, looking forward to it. It's we've been kind of with all these UK sort of national circuits. It's going to be good to get out so we can sort of stretch our leg in a big sort of 2-minute odd lap. So really looking forward to it. And after watching all the Bathurst race 12 hours yesterday, it's looking forward to getting stuck into it. So ready to go for that.
Well, congratulations, Graham, and well done on the pole and race 1 win.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
So there we go. It's always good to hear from Graham. He's always good for a quote or two. Yes. I've been intrigued to see what our podium sitters from race 2 as well. Pete Berryman, I see, is around, so too is Will Chadwick. So I don't know who we're going to get. We're going to get Pete Berryman next here. So second place in this second race of the day after finishing where you qualified in 5th place in race 1. Peter, just talk us through that one.
I mean, not too much to say, really. Couldn't really get the lap together in qualifying. It's difficult with so many cars on track, and it's so narrow. And yeah, from there, it was just an extremely boring day, to be honest. Had good pace in race 1. I think I might have got fastest lap, but I was stuck behind Luke. He was struggling quite a bit. And then race 2 was more of the same. I knew Seb was never really going to be an opportunity for me to even do anything. So from there, it was more just trying to take care of my stuff, make sure I didn't go backwards. Had a little bit of pressure from behind with Will. He had decent pace, and it was just making sure he didn't do anything silly into the hairpin. But outside of that, it was a bit of a time trial today for me, really.
We've been seeing sort of a little bit of chatter that it is, and we were seeing it through the races, it's a very difficult track to overtake at. Is it just a round where you've just got to think about banking those points for the championship?
Yeah, I think the guys are just whinging for the sake of whinging, to be honest. I mean, if they won a race, they wouldn't be saying anything. So I've seen a few things like different layouts and stuff, but the track's the same. The track's just narrow. It is what it is. I think they should have just qualified better, really. It's simple as that.
I'm looking forward, speaking of tracks that can be a bit narrow, Bathurst next week. I mean, how are you feeling around there?
I mean, it's not really a track that I've much experience on. I haven't really raced it as much as some of the other guys. I know the other guys in the team are looking forward to that track. They're quite strong there. I expect it to be quite a challenge, to be honest. Yeah, I don't really know. Not much expectations. Just sort of get on with it and see how I do.
Top tip, keep it out the walls. But congratulations on the podium here, Peter, in that second race.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Cheers.
I didn't want to mention the fact that I've won races in touring cars around there, but that's just by the by. But not through out and out pace. It's reverse grids. That's where I used to thrive around there. But yeah, definitely always good to hear from Peter. And I believe we are going to get Will Chadwick in next as well for a quick word. And Will, wow, it's been a little while since we spoke to you last. Welcome back to the pointy end of the grid and getting onto the podium.
Yeah, a long time coming, I guess, but this Cheshire circuit always treats me well, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, just down the road from you, effectively. But what was it about Oulton Park then that seemed you do so much well compared to the last 2 weeks of the championship?
I don't know. I think I underperformed in both the previous rounds. Qualifying of the Snetterton, I didn't get the lap when it counted, and Donington was just a disaster, double off track. So I knew I had pace going into this round. Didn't get much practice in, but this track's always a good one for me. So thankfully got a decent lap in qualifying. However, should have been a bit faster. I was too close to the car ahead, really. But can't really complain at that. P3 and P3, it's a double podium, and it's certainly better and on the right track for maintaining some form of top 3 challenge in the championship.
And is that the aim going into the second half of the season, then, top 3?
It has to be. I think, that's where obviously the money's paid out in terms of the Pro Championship. Obviously, you get the podium pounds or whatever it is, for finishing on the podium. But, I'm not here to try and finish 4th or 5th. I want to be on the podium, and I think I just need to put more effort in going into the second half of the season, because I don't think you've seen the best of me yet.
Oh, that's ominous to hear. Well, Will, congratulations. 2 podiums for you here today at Oulton Park.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Peter.
Peter, I don't know who Peter is. So there you go. It's I've been called many things. I've been called many things in my life, David, but never Peter.
It could be worse. At least you got the right letter. That was somebody that was in the broadcast room, whose name escapes both of us. Well done, Will Chadwick, then, for 3rd place. Well done, Sebastian Jobe. Well done, Graham Carroll, then, as our 2 race winners. Sebastian Jobe then increasing that advantage in the championship. Frustration for Luke McEwen. Well, next stop is the away race, if you like, because Bathurst, with its undulations, with its steep climb all the way up Mountain Straight, with the walls omnipresent, it's going to be a real challenge. And that comes in just a week's time, doesn't it? It is going to be absolutely fascinating to see who the stars are going to be around there. Paul, a few thoughts just going into that, because it is a very different type of lap, and it's a much longer lap than we're used to from previous circuits, and indeed British circuits like Knockhill would be after the Bathurst race. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you think you go from Oulton Park, which is a comparatively short track, to Bathurst, which has got those long straights, the blast up Mountain Straight. You've got then the twisty stuff over the top of the mountain and down through the Dipper. It's just iconic venue. And then you've got the run down the Conrad Straight as well, which leads you to a great overtaking opportunity at the end of that straight. It's a complete opposite, really, of Oulton Park. You've got plenty of opportunities to make those overtakes, just not over the top of the mountain.
That's true. That is true. I'm also fascinated to see whether iRacing has built in a virtual kangaroo, which, of course, you do tend to find on the circuit from time to time. Well, all will be revealed in just a week's time. Normal format, we're going to have that 10-minute qualifying session prior to race 1. Results of that, with the reversal of the top 6, will sort out the grid for race 2. Sebastian Jobe is the man in charge. Luke Pennington's had another good day in Am, and the story will continue in just a week's time in the Porsche Rafa Racing Club Esports Carrera Cup, Great Britain. We'll see you in 7 days. For now, from Paul Smith and David Addison, it's goodbye from Oulton Park.